Thanks, guys. I don't know if you wouldn't mind just say a few quick thank yous. Firstly, to Natwest, and in particular, Alan and Andy for letting us host this event in this wonderful location. It's been about our 5th event, I think, we've done with Natwest over the last 3 years, and we're really, really thankful. I'm also going to thank our speakers. I know you're all busy. Really, really appreciate your time this afternoon for giving us such an insightful chat. And also to my team, guys, you did a great job. Thank you very much. Right, rushing on. I don't know about you guys in the room who've actually got businesses who are at the coalface who are now thinking, ooh, this is all quite scary stuff. How on earth do I make the most of all this change to really do something? So I'm going to spend the next 8 minutes giving you a few tactical and strategic tips about what you might be able to do differently in the coming months. Be open-minded. It's very easy in these events when this bit happens to go, oh God, no, my business is fine, we're doing all great. But just be open-minded, and you might have something which you think, wow, that really helps. So the first question, and loads of the speakers this afternoon have talked about the customers. How well do we actually know them? Ask yourself that question. How well do you know this person? How well do you know how often she shops with you? How well do you know who her friends are? How well do you know why she doesn't shop with you? And I bet yourself, if you ask yourself that question really, really hard, you might be surprised with the answers. So I'm going to give you a quick idea about what you could do to change that. Really easy. Why don't you do a pop-up? Pop-up shop is a really easy way, if you haven't got a store, to get in front of your customer. When I first did my first pop-up for a client, I think that was back in 2010. This was a little bit like the Wild West. Now this is a real tried and tested route for brands. There's a £2.1 billion a year industry, employing over 23,000 people. And I'll have a quick look at 4 pop-ups, which might help you out. They're very different, but they're kind of cool. First one was for Aldi. They wanted to get closer to their customer to investigate how they could change up their wine offer. So instead of doing the normal boring online research thing, which we've all received, which doesn't really work, they did a pop-up shop. This was for 3 days in Box Park, and the results of which obviously they analysed, they then rolled out in their stores. Really cheap, really easy to do. The second one was Veggie Pret. Another cool idea. This was for Pret-a-Manger, interrogating their customers about a new transition into a different space. They were amazed about the feedback that they got from changing this store, an existing store on Broadwick Street, into a Veggie Pret store. 20,000 people filled in cards saying how much they loved it. Sales went up by 70% in just 4 weeks. And that's now not a pop-up, it's still an existing store, and they're rolling out more of them. So kind of interesting how that's informed their strategy. The next one was Magnum. So we've heard about an ice cream brand. This was one that decided to do something different, wanted to create an experiential route for its business, wanted to diversify away from its existing offer, decided to come up with this idea for personalization. Instead of coming up with an advertising campaign, which might have been a little bit boring, they decided to do a pop-up shop. It made a bunch of money. They've rolled it out globally, and it's a good thing. Think about it. But this is my favorite, and this is probably the most relevant. So this is a startup in the States called The Butcher's Daughter. It's a beautiful juicing brand, and they had a dream to start this business up. And the first point of call they went to was a pop-up shop. They took this baby on the road for 6 months, and they tested everything they could about their customer, how they liked their menus, their juices, their food, their brand, everything they could, and that informed these beautiful restaurants. They've now got 4, they raised a bunch of money, they've just gone online, so they're kind of trying omnichannel as well, and it's a good thing. So pop-up, if you're thinking about your customer, a good way of getting to know them. Second thing is, we've heard this funny word, omnichannel, which is a bit of a buzzword. Are we omnichannel? Aren't we omnichannel? Sometimes a bit difficult to get our heads around. Well, actually, 89% of the people in the room aren't omnichannel, so you're not selling direct, so it's a kind of a bit of a false question. And also, when we look at this lovely wheel that Marcus showed us earlier, it's kind of tough to be omnichannel. It's a real, oh my God, how am I going to do all that stuff? I'm barely struggling to do my own day-to-day business. But maybe think about innovating. Think about doing something different. Think about maybe going online. Selling online is kind of easy to do. We've heard about how easy it is to do from Elliot's talk. It allows you to get in front of your customer. It allows you to try to do something different. This is Grays. We've all heard about them. We've probably all had them through our letterbox at work or something. They use the research and data about their customer to diversify into that small little packet you've probably seen in Sainsbury's. Really nice idea about how that brand did omnichannel. Right, this is kind of important. In your day-to-day jobs, have you got a plan to stay relevant? Really, really important. The world, as we've heard, is changing at 1 million miles an hour. The world is not the place we thought it was a year ago, and it's changing faster than at any time in certainly my 20 years in this space. And bad things happen if you don't stay relevant. We might have all seen this picture, that's the one, Elliot, of Steve Ballmer, the CEO of Microsoft, in tears, having just had to do a fire sale of Nokia for 300 million, when the business was worth 350 billion at one stage. He's just had to write off 7 billion pounds worth of debt and fire a whole bunch of people. And that's a really brilliant example of a really big brand not staying relevant and paying the cost. So if there's one takeout from all the stuff we've heard this afternoon, it's do something different. Don't just sit on your laurels and think you've got a cool little business. Think about how you might be able to innovate. Okay, big stuff. We're now going to try and bring it back down to what you can do in the next 3 months, 6 months to be able to change things up. Okay, quick thing. How many people in the room have got a strategy? Little show of hands. A real strategy they really love. Quite a few of us. I thought I would see that. That is the thing that I see when I ask that question to businesses every single day of the week. Every single customer of ours says, yeah, we've got a business, we've got a strategy, we're all over it, don't worry about it, Alex, you can just bin that bit. And then we probe a little bit harder, it suddenly becomes not a very usable thing, because some of the things that they're trying to do, particularly as a small business, is change at 1 million miles an hour. They might have fundraised, they might have tried to have an order like Harry for, Christ, I now need 100,000 products tomorrow in 500 stores. And things happen really, really differently. And so you need more than an old-fashioned strategy. If you're going to be an omni-channel business or even a technological business, you need to have something different. So we tend to call them business barometers. So these things are flexible. These things you can use on a week-by-week basis to drive your business forward. They let you go back to the original plan, and they have some checks and balances in place which allow you to change if things inevitably don't go right. Because of course they won't. Not everything's going to go right all the time, particularly if you're changing at 1 million miles an hour. So have a strategy that really works for your business, which is so crucial when you're growing. The next question I'd ask you is how many of us have really worried about money, and how many people have worried about funding my growth? We've heard about all this innovation. It costs some money, right? Now, when I first started off as an entrepreneur, age 23, I think I was, when I raised my first 350K, it was like pulling teeth. I had to go on a walk around my family, my friends. Raising money was really, really tough. But actually, in this space, it's now really super easy. And you should obviously be talking to your RMs, your bank managers, but you should be considering crowdfunding. I'm sure some of you are, but this bit is really, really relevant to you guys. And I'm going to look at 3 examples now of crowdfunding. And the reason why I'm going to look at them is this is relevant to you in the room right now, particularly small businesses growing. In the last 11 months, there have been 668 successful crowdfunded campaigns, and 100 of those have been in your space. There's never been a better time to do this, so have a crack at it. We've heard about Oppo. In the networking session, speak to Harry, find out how he did it. How did he raise that crucial first 30% of the raise to get the campaign funding, which is so crucial to every single crowdfunding campaign? You should definitely think about it if you're thinking about innovating. But it doesn't have to be just the smaller startups, it can be bigger businesses too. This is Toast, who've just been on Cedars. They looked for 750K because they wanted to build another 5 restaurants. They went on there, they raised £1.4 million very, very quickly, which enabled them to move at speed. You should think about it. But it doesn't need to happen to the mid-sized businesses as well. It can also happen to a PLC. This is Chapel Down. You've probably all heard of these guys. You may not have done. Beautiful English wine and champagne brand. They've just raised, over the last 12 months, 6 million quid via crowdfunding, twice. a 2 million raise and then a 4 million pound raise, to diversify away from their core offer of just wine and champagne into beer. Cool, working really well for them. Consider it as part of your strategy for the next 6 to 12 months. Innovate. Oh my goodness me, we've heard the word innovate a lot today, but it is absolutely essential to you right now. If Amazon are creating a product which allows you to sit on your throne and order toilet roll to arrive the next day, you are sure as hell going to need to innovate. And those guys are investing $12 billion in the next 12 months in R&D. Please put that on the agenda at your next meeting to have a crack at. And lastly, how are we going to do all this? You're probably thinking, God, this sounds like a pretty big deal, and I'm not sure if I've quite got the right team in place to be able to do that. And what's more, they're going to be really expensive, and I'm not sure I've got the budget, and there might be a lot of negative stuff going through the old head. In the old days, rewind 20 years ago, you might have gone to these guys, the trendy, Shoreditch-based agency, who are going to have their finger on the pulse. But sadly, times have changed. Those guys probably haven't got the wherewithal to be able to give you that strategic stuff which is going to game change your business. They've probably got a great opinion, but it's probably not going to help be omnichannel when actually Sainsbury's are struggling to do omnichannel brilliantly. So it's an issue. What you probably need is a partner. Someone who comes in, goes with you on the journey, and sets his goal with yours, and comes in not when things go right, but when things go badly, and can say to you, right, I'm prepared to go with you on the journey, I'm prepared to set my recompense at the same level as yours, and I'm actually going to set my goal, not today to do an advertising campaign or a logo design or an e-commerce site. I'm going to set my goal for when you want to exit, or I'm going to set my goal when you've got a big, hairy objective, and I'm prepared to go with you on the journey. That's what I think you need in today's omnichannel world, because let's face it, there isn't a blank sheet of paper which is right for every business. So, anybody who wants to come and have a crack at a really difficult question for any of us from Worth, please do so. Come and have a chat over a glass of wine. I'll give any of you 2 hours of my time for free, because I think we've got some really interesting answers that might be able to help you. That's me, over and out. Thank you.